I've been looking forward to sharing just how I completed a 4-month-long data science course in just a matter of 7 days. The quick and short answer is that I majored in statistics and I basically knew almost every topic covered and had worked on the data science course itself for anywhere around 16 hours a day. But if you are interested in a slightly longer breakdown of this, then let's get into it. I was not necessarily interested in doing an extracurricular course outside of my uni studies, but this was essentially one of those things that kept showing up on my YouTube feed as an ad. Oh, get a Google certificate in this, or get a Coursera certificate in that. And they still show up to this day, but for some reason, at this point in time, they had actually piqued my interest. Now, it was during holiday season, and I had just got back home from uni, still essentially wired from being cognitively engaged in the academic sense. And I had nothing to do in this time, and so I figured that this would be the perfect opportunity to take on one of these courses. And so I looked into it. Now, I came across a bunch of these websites offering courses, of course, until I landed on Coursera and saw that they had a 7-day free trial. And I figured, well, challenge accepted. I'm going to take advantage of this 7-day free trial and complete a 4-month course within that time. Now, while I do not recommend speed running a learning course, because really you're just sort of skimming through the material instead of fully internalizing it and truly learning from it. But in my defense, it worked out rather incredibly to find that I would not necessarily be learning anything from scratch. These were essentially analytical and statistical concepts that I was already familiar with. And so the true challenge was, am I going to finish this within a week? And the answer was yes. And before you start claiming, oh, he used AI, blah, 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 I can assure you no AI was used throughout the entire course. I covered it entirely based on what I already knew and the course material provided, of course. Now, my approach to completing this was fairly straightforward. I woke up at 5 a.m., got on with my morning routine. By 6 a.m., I was already seated at the table and cracking on. I worked on a course until about 10 p.m. late night, with breaks in between, of course, for breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever. But they only lasted for about 30 minutes to about an hour or so. And so a huge chunk of my time was spent working on this data science course. And really, there was nothing extraordinary with my approach to this other than the fact that I went from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. seated at the table, cracking on for 7 days straight. And so this was just another way to sort of brute force being addicted to doing something and learning and continuously engaging your brain. The course itself was structured in a beginner-friendly way. I think almost anyone could do it if they truly applied themselves. I'm going to do a quick breakdown without going into detail of how the course outline was. It consisted of 10 modules, and the first one was an introduction to data science. The second one was an introduction to tools that are used in data science. The third one was an introduction to methods used in data science. The fourth one was an introduction to Python and how it's used in data science, AI, and development. The fifth one was an actual data science project in Python. And the sixth one covered basic databases and SQL. The seventh one was data analysis in Python. The eighth one was data visualization in Python. And the ninth one, I kind of forgot what that was, put it up on the screen. And finally, there was an applied data science capstone, which was essentially a big project that encompassed all the material that you learned throughout. So each module essentially had a lesson or a couple of lessons, which were then followed by a quiz. Then at the very end of this particular module, there would either be a big test or assignment that covers all the material within that module. So it was in fact a very classroom-like approach, which made it very easy to follow along and essentially build well upon previously learned modules. So the course itself covered well, I would not necessarily say basic, but I would say it does give a very good foundation if you're looking to get into data science without any kind of formal education. But then any kind of scaling or refinement or learning more about other concepts would entirely be up to you. And I do not think that it goes toe-to-toe with what I learned in uni, because at most it kind of is a subsection of a subsection. It is at most 2 weeks worth of work in uni terms or in a traditional education sense. But then again, it was structured for beginners, so fair enough, quite understandable. Now, I was truly intrigued to find out what I would be learning when I took the course, but it turned out to be 90% of things that I already knew. And so the true challenge of me taking this on was to see if it would be feasible to finish this within a week. And it was, which takes me back to my point of how this would be 2 weeks worth of work in uni. And I think that it was beneficial to me in a sense that I was cognitively engaged for hours on end, of which I am a huge proponent of. So that is my takeaway from this, and that is my approach to this course. And appreciate you for watching. I will see you in the next one.